tour here, the first thing I will ask you to do is to, if you have a Gmail account, just to log into it. And if you don't, you should. It's just a good thing to have. So I'll have you make a Gmail account. And if your school does Google Apps for education, like if you have a Gmail account, you can do it through there. Or although I just also recommend you have a private Gmail account because your school one will expire.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi is Columbia University. Can you help me find it? And if your laptops are locked, let me know.
All good? It's locked? Okay. Okay, so to unlock it. Do most of you just, you already have Google? And actually, just by quick show of hands, how many of you have used spreadsheets in school? So most of you, right? And have any of you done I know a lot of you are in AP Bio. Have any of you done the AP Bio Hardy-Weinberg lab on a spreadsheet? I know very few schools actually do that lab. It's one of like the AP Bio labs. No? Yeah, you have? Okay, so you're like our resident expert on this because that's like a difficult spreadsheet lab, and you do actually a lot of very complicated things on that. That's basically programming with spreadsheets. So some of this will be review, yeah. But for the rest of you, what do you use your spreadsheets for in general? Yeah?
Analyze data from experiments, determine if there was a wall change or, yeah.
Okay. Do you like what you run? So you input the data, and then what do you do with the data? What kind of?
I just organize it so I can perform chi-squared tests for p-values.
Oh, great! So you do chi-squared on it. Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty sophisticated. Anyone else? Any kind of other things you use spreadsheets for? Anyone made a graph on Google Sheets before? Yeah. Do your teachers have you submit graphs for your labs on Google Sheets? It's a helpful thing. I actually don't know why so many high schools, every graph needs to be handwritten. I think when you get older, if you were to submit a handwritten graph, they'd say, why isn't this on a computer? So it's a helpful thing to develop that skill. So today we're going to go over, once again, some of the basics of Google Sheets. And we're not doing Excel just because not everyone probably has Excel downloaded, but if you're working on a desktop, you can also use Excel. Although Google Sheets is generally pretty much the same. There are some things that are a little bit different, but for almost everything I'm teaching you today, it's the same. And if you are in a lab where they're asking you to use spreadsheets, like I always just default to Google Sheets. But if they want you to do Excel and something isn't quite working like you expect it to, you always just look it up. And I always just look things up, and then you get better at like searching how to look up how to do things on a spreadsheet the more you do it. Even for this, there was some things that I was like, oh, I forgot what the command for that is, and so I just Googled it. And sometimes you just say, I just would Google Sheets, how to find this. And then there's like I'm sure you all know this, there's like a million things online to kind of look up. So I'm going to teach you the basics, and it's good to get the kind of hands-on experience with it. But ultimately, do not be afraid just to look things up or to ask questions. But those online tutorials are fantastic, and everything's on YouTube now too. So you will not know everything, and that's okay. But hopefully you'll kind of be comfortable. All right, so is everyone in their Gmail account? All right, I'm going to go to my Gmail account too, and I'm going to really quickly go to this, and I'm going to go to where it says Drive. Okay? And then I'm going to go to New, and I'm going to go to Google Sheets. Okay? Pretty basic. I'm guessing most of you have done this at some point in high school. So this is Google Sheets. It's really great. You can do all kinds of cool things with it, and we're going to explore it. I'm all about spreadsheets. I do everything with spreadsheets. I don't even take notes in documents anymore. I take all my notes in spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are incredibly useful. They keep everything organized. It's easier to add things in and delete them. It's easier to add in sequences, and you can analyze data really, really quickly with them. So today, I hope that you will be as excited about spreadsheets as I am. So let's work through this. The first part of today, I'm going to do some stuff up here, and you're going to do it along with me. And you'll just kind of do the exact same thing, get yourself some training. And then the second half of today, I'm going to share you on a spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet has a bunch of different tasks for you. And ultimately, what I'll have you do is I'll have you complete all of the tasks that it's asking you to do. Most of them are pretty basic. And then I'll have you share those with me just to say, OK, I was able to kind of complete everything that I needed to do. Do not be afraid to ask questions. Do not be afraid to slow down. Ask questions of the person near you. Sometimes there's really subtle differences in kind of what that can make something go wrong. So we are here to help you. All right, so let's jump into this. So the first thing is, so hopefully you're all here. You went to the Google Apps button, which was that little kind of the 3x3 grid. You went on Sheets, and then you made a new sheet. So I'm going to ask you to do some things on your sheet. Okay? Number one is, can you please make a list of your 5 favorite foods in column A? So put your first favorite food in A1 and then A2. It doesn't actually have to be your favorite food. Just give me 5 foods in column A. And then in column B, can you list your 5 favorite drinks? I'm going to do this too. So I'm going to say mac and cheese. I'm going to say barbecue ribs. I'm going to say really healthy things. I'm going to say hamburger. I'm going to say pineapple. And I'm going to say strawberries. And then I'm going to say my favorite drinks. I'm going to say water, number 1. I guess coffee, tea, Coca-Cola, and I'm going to say sparkling water. All right. Did you get that in? Hopefully you're thinking this is baby stuff, which it kind of is, right? This is supposed to be pretty easy. All right. So next, can you add in a column to separate A and column B? So the way you would do that, this is just kind of a helpful tool. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, actually, to make this a little bit bigger. And in case you don't know how to zoom in, I'm right here where it says 100%. I'm going to make it 200 just to make it easier for everyone to see. You don't have to do that for yourself, but hopefully it's a little easier. So if you've never added a column in, I'm going to highlight A. I'm going to right-click. Right-click on a Mac is 2 fingers, and right-click on one of the PCs is just right-clicking. And then I'm going to go to Insert One Right. And that inserts a column for me. Okay? Easy peasy? Beautiful. All right. So next, on a second tab, so not a second column, but a second tab, you're going to make a list of your 3 favorite colors, and then you're going to label the tab colors. So to do this, I'm going to go here, and you see down here, I have my tab. Okay? I want to make a new tab. So this will be in the same spreadsheet document, but I want to make a new tab. So I'm going to go to Add Sheet, and I'm going to name it Colors by just double-clicking on that where it says Sheet 2. Okay? And then I'm going to say my 3 favorite colors. I'm going to say black, gray, and brown. I like dark colors. I don't know about you. We're making the world's best spreadsheet right now, okay? And then you've made each item on the list a different color, which is good. And now let's title the spreadsheet. So you're going to say your name's spreadsheet test, okay? Because we're going to use this throughout today. So I'll put Vince's spreadsheet test, okay? That's my name. Don't put Vince's. You're not Vince. Unless anyone here is named Vince. Is anyone here named Vince? Okay. All right. Easy peasy. And then next, you're going to share that with me. If you've never shared a spreadsheet before, it probably means your school doesn't use Google Docs. But if you have shared something before, you should know how to do this. And here is my email. My name is spelled, is very complicated spelling. I'll even write it up here just so you have it. It's Mr.Joralman@fmhsnyc.org. Okay. So if you don't know how to share that, you just go up here and you click on the share button. And I'm going to share this with Mr.Joralman. I pop up right away. Okay. And you don't have to give me editing access. Maybe you just want me to see it, right? You don't want me to mess with your thing, so I'm actually going to only give me viewing access. Okay? Or maybe I want me to be able to comment on it. But I'm just going to give viewing access. Okay? So then I'm going to send that to me. So actually, we're going to kind of look at these to make sure everyone's all caught up. So you do want to share those with me, because I'll be able to see through that you kind of got everything that you needed to get today. Okay. So now, we're just going to kind of all move along together to the next part. But is everyone all good here? Do I need to slow down? Some of you are probably thinking he needs to speed up, which I understand. Okay, so we're going to now see an example of a really, really powerful and fun spreadsheet. So I did not make this spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet I found, and I actually play this with my students when I introduce them to spreadsheets. But this is going to teach you just like how powerful a spreadsheet can be and fun. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you go here. Go to tinyurl.com/Battleship Spreadsheet. Okay? Battleship Spreadsheet. So tinyurl.com/Battleship Spreadsheet. All right, and you got a really cool spreadsheet here. Okay? This is Battlesheets. Has anyone ever played the game Battleships? Yeah? Only 2 people? It's a good game. Yeah, 3. All right, here we go. So the way Battleships works is pretty simple. You will put your ships onto your board. And then your partner will guess a spot on the board. And if they guess correctly, then you will say hit. And if they guess incorrectly, you will say miss. And if they've hit all of a ship, then they have sunk that ship. And their goal is to sink all of your ships. Now, I don't really care that you learn how to play Battleships right now. What I do care is that you learn how really, really powerful a spreadsheet can be. So the way this generally works is we have player 1 sheet, which is I can be player 1. And then we have player 2 sheet. And they look identical, but actually their sheets are referencing each other. So what I have here is this is where I'm going to put all of the different letters of my sheets, right in this corner. Okay? But then there's going to be a very beautiful thing here and here that's going to be able to reference their sheet. So if you see this here, there's a bunch of codes here. And we'll actually try to figure out what those codes mean in a second. But every one of these squares has a code. And you're also going to see that it's referencing something called player 2, which just so happens to be the name of this sheet. And if I go to player 2 sheet, and I click here, it's referencing player 1, which is actually the name of this sheet. So I'm going to be able to figure out if I hit them just kind of based on this. So here's how this works. I'm going to go to File, Make a Copy, and I'm just going to, it can just be named Copy of Battlesheets Game Template. Okay? Yeah? Oh, yes, I can. It is just tinyurl.com/Battleship Spreadsheet. I'll write that up here too. So I'm going to show you, because not everyone here has played Battleships before, I'm going to show you how to set this up. Can you remind me of your name again?
Samantha.
Samantha and I are going to play Battlesheets really quickly, okay? So I made a copy of this. I'm going to be player 1. Samantha, you can be player 2. So what actually, you know what? Do you want to be player 1? That's even better. Did you make a copy of this, Samantha? Yeah. So can you go here to share? And can you share your copy of Battlesheets with me? I'm going to be player 2. You're also going to do this. Player 1 for you, you're going to pair up, and player 1 will be who's ever closest to the door. They'll share their version with player 2, because you actually need to be on the same spreadsheet. So player 2 doesn't even need to make a copy of the spreadsheet. So Samantha is sharing this with me, and I'm actually going to go to my, oh, no. I'm going to see that you shared it with me. Oh, this is everywhere. Samantha, what's your email? Just so I could.
Samantha Sylvain.
Samantha.
So
SYL.
SYL. BAIN. 13.
Oh, there we go. All right, you made me the battle sheets thing. Okay, so I'm going to open this up. So I am now on this sheet. Okay, I'm just going to give you a second to pair up with somebody, and the person who's closest to the door will be player 1, and then they can share their sheet with player 2. If you want to pair up together, and then is there an odd number of people? Okay, I'm just going to have you get set up real quick, and then I'll get you, and I'll actually have you play with Samantha after I kind of demo this. Okay? So Samantha is going to be in the player 1 tab, and I'm going to be in the player 2 tab. Okay? What I need to do is I need to put my ships onto my board. Now, the way I do this is I'm going to copy and paste some of my data. Okay? So I need to put my aircraft carrier onto my board. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my first A. And Samantha, you're welcome to do this in the player 1 tab right now. And everyone's welcome to do this in whatever tab you exist in. If you are player 1, you should be in the player 1 tab. And if you're player 2, you should be in the player 2 tab. Okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Shift on my computer. And then I'm going to press the last A. And you see that that has highlighted the whole sequence of A's. Shift plus another click is basically saying, let me get all of this highlighted. Okay? And then I'm going to press Command C, or on your if you're on one of the Chromebooks, you're going to press Control C. And then, Samantha, don't look. You can't look, I'm just kidding. But I'm going to put this somewhere on my board. I think I want my aircraft carrier to be right here, so I just copied and pasted it there. Okay, so that's where I chose to put my aircraft carrier. Now I'm going to copy my battleship and put it in a different location here. Samantha, you're setting yours up too? All right. And now I'm going to copy my cruiser, put it in a different location, copy my destroyer. And now don't show partner 2 where you have it. It's good, you're facing away from each other. So you don't want to show partner 2 where it is. Although partner 2 could just cheat and click on your tab, but we're going to be honest here, okay? And then my frigate, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm going to put there. So I have my battleships in place. And what you're actually doing is you're learning a little bit about copying and pasting data right now, which is a very helpful thing to do in Excel. Okay? Yes?
How do I shift it over after?
You should.
How do I paste it down?
Oh, so you're going to want to, you click on this first one, press Shift, and then you click on the last one. And then you press Control C. And then wherever you want to put it, you press Control V. Oh. I don't know why it doesn't want to do that. Ooh. Oh, this is not the copy. That's because you're only on view only, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll have you go to player 1. So like, let's say, yeah. So there you go, yeah. And just one quick note, if you ever make a mistake on a spreadsheet and you want to undo, what is the keyboard command for that? Yeah. Yeah, Control Z. So let's say, oh, you know what? I decided I don't want to put my frigate there. I'm going to press Command Z, and watch, it just disappears, okay? And now I'm going to decide I want to paste it right here. All right. So now Samantha and I are going to begin, and you and your partner are going to begin soon too. And this is where you get to see just how powerful this software is. So Samantha, when you're done posting those, let me know, okay? And this program is so powerful that I can actually see whose turn it is right now. It actually gives me this little, if I click on that box, this is player 1, there is a super complicated command there that is going to determine whose turn it is. And it actually is based on who most recently put an X into this square. This is a great game. I hope when you all get bored in class this upcoming week, you do not go to cool math games, you go to Battlesheets instead. Because I know you all go to cool math games. So now, when Samantha's ready, are you ready, Samantha? So what Samantha's going to do is she's in sheet 1. I don't know where she put her things, but Samantha, you're going to try to drop a bomb here where it says drop your bombs. And you just type in an X. Okay? And we're going to imagine Samantha can't see where mine are. Let me know when you've dropped your X. Dropped it. Okay, so Samantha hit me, and it's showing up as a red. Whoa, this, Samantha, did you cheat? So in looking at this, the command, when you don't have to totally interpret it yet, it is a little bit of, although if any of you have coding experience, you might try to understand this. It's saying if is text K5, then give it a 1 or give it a 0, plus if is ktext player 1 K19, then give it a 2 or give it a 0. That kind of means something, and it's probably referencing some kind of code for us. But the most important thing is Samantha got a hit. Now it's my turn. I'm going to take a little guess, and I'm going to put an X right here at D4. Shoot, I missed. All right, Samantha, it's your turn because the computer says it. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, so go ahead and start playing. And as you play, and as you're waiting for your partner to go, feel free to kind of like explore around here at how this spreadsheet is working. We'll play for about 10 minutes. The main goal is if someone sinks one of your ships, you have to say, you sunk my whatever it is. So I'm about to say, you sunk my cruiser to Samantha, okay? Is there anyone who doesn't have a partner right now, by the way? Because you can come take my computer while I walk around. Okay. Oh, Samantha, wait, what are you doing? How did you went ahead. No. You got to press Command Z a few times. How'd you sink my destroyer? No. You got to press Command or Control Z. Control Z. Yeah, press it 3 times. Because I only have 2 hits. You should have, and then press it one more time. Okay, good. All right, so now I get to take a guess, and then you get to go, okay? All right, I still missed. Now your turn. Okay. You can only go when it says player 1 right here. Yeah. Samantha, are you cheating? Oh, sorry, you sunk my cruiser, just FYI. All right, now it's my turn. Okay, you're doing pretty well. Dang it. You sunk my destroyer. Samantha's very, very good at this game. right, your turn, Samantha. All right, you got a miss. Great. Ooh, I hit something.
That was the aircraft carrier.
You actually don't have to tell me what it is until I sync it. But now I know it's an aircraft carrier. Did you go? Okay. The beauty of this game is you could play it across the room. You don't have to tell them it's their turn because it will show up this way. So your teacher really doesn't have to know if you're playing a game. Not that I endorse that. Did you go, Samantha?
I did just now.
Just now?
I'll do it again.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Now it's player 2 for me. Okay, great. All right. Oh, shoot. Oh, you sunk my frigate. Oh, you're doing very well, Samantha. All right. Samantha, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to make sure everyone's all set. But feel free to kind of look around on the spreadsheet to see how everything's going. Anyone winning? Oh, you won. You straight up won. Wow. That was fast. All right, so start to wrap up your games. The goal of today is not just to play Battlesheets all day.
Once we wrap up the game, can you just repeat how to get started for the last
Yeah.
students? They have no idea.
Yeah, I will get them all set up. As those of you who are wrapping up your games do so, for those of you who came in a little bit late, let me just get you set up to where we all are, okay? So the first thing is, if you were here from the beginning, you could ignore me right now. But if you came in a little bit late, can you please log into a Gmail account? And if you don't have a Gmail account, can you make one? Everything, that's all good? Okay. And then, can you go to Google Sheets, and then what I'm going to have you do is in column A, list your 5 favorite foods. And then in column B, can you list your 5 favorite drinks? So you could just list any food in that first column. All right. So you can exit out, or not, don't exit out. I mean, you can keep it on, just probably like you would in your classes, and I won't know. But we're going to go back to our sheets, okay? So spreadsheets are really, really powerful, as you can kind of see from that. You can play a whole board game on them. And that spreadsheet is not something that is too difficult. I probably couldn't write that right now, but if you give me a morning, I could look up the different codes for that, and I could just write that software. I don't think that software was that spreadsheet was too hard to make. And you all probably actually could make that too. The beautiful thing about spreadsheets is I would just kind of have to look up, like, what code would this be, and think about it logically. Especially if you've ever had any experience with coding, it's very logical. It's very like, what does this say, and then how do I compare this to this, and if that's true, then do this, or if that's false, then do this. It's a lot of just like very basic kind of language things. Go ahead and click through some on the Battleship spreadsheet and kind of click through where there's in like the periphery of it. And try to think to yourself, does any of this look familiar? Do I understand what this is saying? So here, it looks like I just have a bunch of codes, right? Now, some squares don't have any code at all. Like if I click over here, it's just white. It doesn't have any code. This has like an X. This is blank. It just has like a red. This has some code. Okay. This also has some code. This doesn't have any code. This just says, see if you hit them. Okay. So some of this stuff has code. Some of it doesn't have code. Samantha, were you cheating? You only had 3 ships there. So spreadsheets are super, super powerful. And I hope to, today, by the end of today, I hope that you're going to feel empowered to make your own really cool spreadsheets. And spreadsheets do not have to be ugly either. This is a nice looking spreadsheet. Like this is a cool, like attractive looking spreadsheet. It's easy to read. It's not just a bunch of numbers, right? It's very clear what you're supposed to do. You all could play a game that you've never played before on this spreadsheet. They even put some instructions on here, right? That's why I say I actually use spreadsheets instead of documents when I tend to take notes for things. It's because it's just so easy. And I could also link in different things. So Eric Kurtz, who made this, right? He's getting all the credit for this, from all this, because he's linking everything in there. Like it's like a website. And this is super, super cool, okay? So we're going to make some pretty cool spreadsheets today too. So we're now going to practice moving data from one spreadsheet to another, okay? So in your test spreadsheet, the one that we started where you put all your favorite foods, you're going to make a new tab, and you're going to call that sample data. So I'm going to go to my test spreadsheet, and I'm going to make a new tab down here, and I'm going to call this sample data. And actually, if you really want to kind of keep with the nomenclature and you kind of keep with the standards of a spreadsheet, it's almost better to actually not put a space there. It's just because when you start to reference there. So I'm just going to call it sample data with no space. But I put a capital D. See how I did that? That's actually really helpful because when you start to program, spaces are not your friend. You don't want a lot of spaces. And so keeping those together is going to be really nice for you. So I just call that sample data. Okay? And I'm actually going to, I got to fix that here. Okay, next you're going to go to tinyurl.com/bioforce-sample-data. tinyurl.com. And this is just some random sample data. I just found it online, but it's just easy to kind of analyze. It seems like it's referencing some sales data of like school supplies. That's not important. What is important is that we're going to be able to kind of manipulate this. So I'm going to go to tinyurl.com/bioforce-sample-data. And this is often how things work. Someone will share with you some data and say, hey, can you analyze this for me? Or can you do this, the X, Y, or Z with it? And the number one thing is you should never, ever change an original data source. If someone collected a bunch of data, you can copy that data over to a new spreadsheet, but it's never a good idea to change the original source of your data. Because if you mess that up, you're not in a great place. I mean, luckily with Google Spreadsheets, you can always go to like version history, where you can kind of go to older versions. But if you're working on an Excel, which is like the desktop version of this, you won't have that privilege. So I always recommend make things in new tabs or in new spreadsheets and just copy it on over. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to sales orders. See how they named that? It just says sales, no space, orders. Okay? And I want to copy this whole sheet over to my spreadsheet. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, there's 2 ways I can do this. The first is I can actually just click on this top thing between where it says 1 and A. And that will actually highlight the entire spreadsheet for me. I could do that, Alternatively, I could click an A1 and then hold down Shift and then click at the very bottom, and that will just highlight everything for me as well too. And then I'm going to press Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac. Okay? And then I'm going to go over here to my sample data, and I'm going to press Control V. And I did it. But wait, there's a problem. You see this thing that says #ref? Okay? In my sample data, it doesn't have that. Something happened. Huh. So it looks like what happened is that this data right here was referencing random numbers to mess things up. Oh, that's that spreadsheet. And I didn't copy over that tab of this spreadsheet. So what happened was it tried to copy over a code. And that code was referencing something that does not exist in my new spreadsheet. So I have to do a very special way of copying things over. And whenever you copied and pasted something and you get this, your first idea should be, oh, I need to do a special copy, okay? And then I need to do a special paste. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to press I'm in Vince's spreadsheet test. I'm going to press Command Z. I'm going to start over. So that erased everything. Everyone all good here? So I want to copy this data over, but I just want these numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this all one more time. I'm back into sample data, the spreadsheet that I just shared with you, or this spreadsheet. And then I'm going to right-click anywhere here. Okay? And I'm going to go to copy. I could have also just done Command C. So I've now copied this. It's what's saved on my clipboard. Or maybe you've heard that before. It's saved somewhere in my computer. And now I'm going to go back here, and I want to paste it again. But last time I pasted it, it did not work out. And that's because it was pasting exactly what was in the cells, which in this case was actually the codes behind them. But I actually just want the numbers. So the way I will do this is I'm going to right-click in A1, and I'm on Vince's spreadsheet test right now. So I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go to Paste Special. And Paste Special is going to, I just want to paste the values. I only want the numbers and not the code that was behind it. Okay? So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go to Paste Values Only. If I wanted anything else, I could do maybe Paste Formula Only or Paste Format Only. But for here, I only want to paste the values. And I'm going to see if this was the same as here. Okay. Oh, here's my sample data. Are those numbers the same for me? Yeah, it looks like they're the same. I'm just going to make a quick note. Is your first number under discount 85? Probably is not. And that's actually because this is based on a random number generator, which I will teach you how to use later. Your numbers should not be the same as what I have up here, but your numbers should be the exact same as what you have in sample data. Now, because I pasted the values only, I did not get to copy over any of the beautiful backgrounds, so I may have to kind of recreate those. But in general, what I did is I at least have the right numbers here. If I wanted to copy over all the equations, I could, but in this time, it was not the right thing to do. Does everyone have, for now, it seems like there's an issue with you need to download some kind of extension to paste special, which I've never heard of on these Chromebooks. But does everyone have at least everything from A to G copied over onto the spreadsheet? Because most of what I'm going to ask you to do is just involving A to G. Is it working generally? Okay. Okay. So here is what we will do next, okay? So I am on my Vince's spreadsheet test. I'm just going to drag it over. All right. So The next thing I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to make my headings readable. I want my headings to be a different color because I copied over everything and it's not that pretty. So I want to make my headings a little bit more readable. So I'm going to go here and, sorry, I'm going to have to zoom back out a little bit because I need to be able to see everything. And I'm going to just click on 1. And I just want to I clicked on A1 and then I pressed Shift and I clicked on H1. So I have all this highlighted. And I just want to make my headings pretty. And let me give you advice that will help you your whole life. Don't choose the top option in the colors. Choose the option right underneath it, the pretty pastel version of them. You're going to make much prettier spreadsheets and everyone's going to want to read your spreadsheets more. Here's what I mean by this. I'm going to go and click here where there's that little like fill color thing. And let's say I want to make my top color red. And I press that red button. Do you see how jarring that looks? You see how unpleasant that is to look at? I am going to tell you that you can never go wrong with choosing the pastel version of the color, which is just underneath it. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on A1 through H1. And this is personal preference, and I don't think this is like universal rule, but really, it is going to make your spreadsheets look much nicer. And I'm actually just going to choose the one right underneath it. Oh, see how much prettier that is? Right? Imagine staring at spreadsheets all day, and these are nice pastel colors versus something that is like, red. So rule of thumb, and this is not an actual rule, but just my general rule of thumb is choose the first row here, always. Just looks nicer. If you only learn one thing today, take that away, okay? To use more pastel colors. All right. Also, generally avoid red, because people associate red with wrong. So actually, I'm just going to go back here. And I'm going to make it purple. I like purple. That's nicer, okay? Okay. So everyone have this all set up? You could choose whatever color you want. If you want to choose red, you can choose red. Okay, so our next step is we're going to, we did special copy and special paste, okay? And next, we're going to make a series or a continuous value, okay? So we're going to rank our favorite foods in a new column right now. So I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. And once again, this might be a review for some of you. And I'm going to go back to actually my first sheet where I have my favorite foods. Okay? So I'm going to do a couple of things here. First off, I think that this doesn't look really good. It just has random foods labeled. So what should I add to this? What's the first thing I should probably add? Yeah, a title. So or like a heading. So I'm going to click on 1. Just where it says 1 right here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to put insert 1 above. So that's going to give me a space to insert a heading. And I'll put my favorite foods. And I'm going to put my favorite drinks. And why not? Let's color this. Sure, blue. And let's color this. Why not green? Okay? Got a nice little heading there. So now I want to number these. I'm going to rank them. Let's say I put these in order of my favorite food is mac and cheese, second favorite barbecue ribs. Let's say I want to rank these. Okay? So first thing is I need to add in another column to the left. So I'll click on A. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to do insert 1 left. Okay? I don't like that happened. I'm going to get rid of that. So I'll go to fill color. And I'll just fill it white. All right. Tell me to slow down if you need me to. All right. And now I'll just say rank. And for this one, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Isn't that tedious? Imagine you had to do this for 100 things. That would be awful. So some of you know what I'm talking about. There's an easier way to do this. Okay? So the first thing I could do is I could just kind of copy over my whole ranks. The way I just did that is I'm on rank 1 and I hold down Shift and then I press the down arrow until I have copied it all. I could just copy it over, but I'm not going to do that because I wouldn't have learned anything new. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy what says rank. So I'll go here. I'm going to click on A1. I'm going to press Control C or Command C and put it under C1. Okay? And I'm going to teach Excel the series that I want. I'm going to say we're going to do 1 first and then 2. And that's, Excel is or Google Sheets is really, really smart. They're going to read that to say, I know what the pattern is right now. The pattern is he's going up by 1. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Shift and then highlight both 1 and 2. Everyone got that? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a beautiful list all the way to 5. And here is how you make a list all the way to 5. Hover near the bottom right of where it says 2. You see that right there? See how it turns to like a cross? That means, do you want to drag this? And I'm going to say, yes, I would like to drag this. And it's very important that I highlight 1 and 2 here. And what I will do is I'm going to hold this down and drag it as far as I want to go. And look at that. They figured out my sequence. My sequence was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you want me to show you how smart they are at doing sequences? They're really, really smart. I'm going to make a new column. You can actually try this out as 2. I'm going to say random dates. So my first date will be today, which is 5/18/19. And then I'm going to make my second date a week from now. So 5/25/19. And Google Sheets is so smart that they're going to say, it seems like the pattern is every 7 days. And let's see if it works. So I'm going to once again highlight this. And then I'm going to drag it. And let's see if they can do it. Whoa. Are all these 7 days after the next one? Pretty cool, right? You can try this out with other things too. Do you want to just try to see if you can do, I don't know if they can do, do you all know the Fibonacci sequence? I don't think it could do the Fibonacci sequence, but I bet it can count by 2s. Let's try that. So let me do 2, 4. Let's see if they can figure that out. I actually don't know how this will work. Does it work? Wow, so smart. Do you think they could do exponential? I've never tried this. So let me do 2, 4, 8, 16. That seems like it's enough to kind of teach it. What would I expect my next number to be? 32 and then 64? I actually don't know if it'll get this because this seems pretty complicated. No, it tried to figure out something that was different. Oh, I can't even figure out what that is. So it can't do exponential, but it's very good at linear things like this when you do the drag down. Okay? And I'm going to teach you one more thing really quickly. Let's say I make a new column. I'm just up here in H, and I want this column to say cheese all over, because I like cheese. And so I just wanted to continually say cheese, 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 cheese. I just press cheese, I type in cheese, and I'm going to go down here, and there's no sequence here. It's nothing for it to learn. And if I don't have a sequence, it's going to just copy down the word cheese. Okay? You put whatever word you want there. And another cool thing about this is Google Sheets doesn't look for a sequence if you don't tell it to look for a sequence. So let's say I do over here, I put 1, 2, and then I have not highlighted the 2, 1 and the 2, and I just do the 2, and I just drag this 2 down. It will only give me 2 because I haven't highlighted the 1 and the 2. So it's not looking for a sequence. Okay? And in general, that's quite nice. It'll only try to look for a sequence if you tell it to look for a sequence. This makes sense? Have you all done things like this before, or is this kind of, yeah, maybe? All of these, the drag down thing is like so helpful. Once you do that, if you work in a lab, everyone's going to like you because you're going to go so much faster with everything. Look at this column. Look at this. This is a beautiful spreadsheet. It says cheese. It says random dates, count by 2s, and then just the number 2 a bunch of times. Like, this is a good spreadsheet, okay? All right, so let's try to do some more complicated stuff. All right. Any questions so far? Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that Excel would pick up on the Battleship set?
I mean, I don't think it could do, if it can't do exponential, it can't do, it wouldn't be able to do Fibonacci, and then it wouldn't be able to, it probably can't do anything complicated like that. I don't know if there is like a program for that. I mean, the Fibonacci sequence, what is it? I could try 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. Let's see if it could pick up on that. If it did, that means there's just someone who's really into math who works there. No, it didn't pick up on it. OK. All right. So let's go back to our next thing. So we are done with series and continual values. OK? Now let's do another one that's called the random function. And today, I'm just going to say, you might not realize why we use this function, but it's really a helpful function. And actually, if you ever work inside like a genetics laboratory where you're trying to run models of like trying to make predictions, random's really, really helpful. You used random before if you did the AP Bio lab, because that's like a part of it. When you're trying to figure out like what the genotype will be of something, it's like a coin flip. And we're actually going to make a really simple random number generator that's going to be a coin flip for us. OK? So let's do this. Let's go back to, I'm going to go back to Vince's test spreadsheet. And I'm going to make a new tab. OK? And I'll call this, let me just call it coin flip. OK? And I'll make a column and I'll label it random. And let's say I want to color this. I'm going to make a nice pretty color, so I'll highlight A. And once again, I'm feeling maybe some pastel. What is this? Light red berry. What a nice color. OK, so this will be my random. The colors do not affect the code at all. And then I'm going to do this. I'll put equal sign, which means I'm going to tell it a command. You could do some nice coding on this. And I'm going to put R, A, N, D. And Google Sheets is so nice that they actually recommend things for you. I'm going to DIY this, though. And the random function is the first function I'm going to teach you. And you just put open parentheses, close parentheses. OK? And all this does is it gives you a random number between 0 and 1. It will be a decimal. OK? And I press Enter. And I have a random number. And let's say I want to recreate this formula over and over again. So I'll drag it. I say I want to make 50 random numbers. So I go to the bottom here where I get that little cross. And I'm going to drag this down all the way down to 50. OK. And I know we're starting to accelerate a little bit. So is everyone fine? OK. And on all of these individual ones, you'll notice something really interesting. OK? So let's say I'm in B1, and I put like the number 1.1, or I put the number 9.5. Notice how every time I put something in and I press Enter, that the random number changes. It also changes if I press Command R or Control R. That just refreshes it. A random number generator will just give you a new random number between 0 and 1 every time it refreshes or every time you put in new data. OK? Now, let's say I go to cell B2 where I put 1.1. You're going to see that in this, which is my equation bar, it just says 1.1. So that's all it's reading, 1.1, because that's what I put in there. I gave it the value 1.1. Here, I gave it the value 9.5. Now, if I go to A3, do you think it's going to tell me 0.38509883632? Do you think it'll tell me that? And my formula bar? Let's see. What is it going to tell me? Oh, no, it just tells me equals rand. Because I actually didn't input that data. I input a formula. And so what this will always tell me is the truth. This will tell me, where did this number really come from? Did someone manually put that in, or is it referencing something else? Okay? So all of these different ones all have the same function. It just says rand. Pretty cool, right? So I'll show you something really quickly that we're also going to, we can create a formula to multiply things together. Okay? So let's say I want to just have my random number generator take these numbers and multiply them by 100. So I'm going to put 100 in cell B2. And then I want all the way down to 50 to be 100. Because my numbers right now are decimals, and I don't want them to be decimals. I want them to be out of 100. Okay, so I just dragged 100 down. And then I'm going to put, let's say I want to call this one percent. Because actually, I'm turning my random number. We tend to use this as a random way to think of a percentage into an actual percent. So to make something into a percent, you just multiply by 100. So here I can do my first real math equation, okay? Where we've made a calculator. I'm going to put equals. And this, so follow with me. This is where we start to get to the more complicated parts. And nothing's too difficult. But I'm going to actually do equal sign, and then I'm not going to type anything in. I'm going to click on A2. And see how just A2 pops up there? And if you make a mistake ever, it's okay. Let's say I accidentally clicked on A3. If I ever make a mistake, I could just click on A2. Or if I'm really like, so things are getting messed up, I could just press escape. And then when I press escape, I can restart. But here I just clicked on equals A2. And then I'm going to do a little asterisk sign, or that's shift 8. So times. And then I want it to be times B2. Yeah. Oh, where's the A2? Yeah. Like, how do you get that? You just, so I'll do this one more time. You press, so you're in cell C2, press equal, and then you actually click on A2. You actually click on that cell. You actually could type in A2 as well too, but that gets messy. I don't encourage you to do that. I encourage you to just click on things. And then I'm going to multiply that by B2. Yeah?
I think I accidentally erased it. I don't remember what was plugged in.
Oh, just random. The random function just works like this. Random close and yeah. And then you just drag it on down. Yeah, if you ever need to, the random function is the most basic function, or one of the more basic functions. That's actually just equals rand. I actually think it's the same for some computer languages as well too. Yeah. Let's try. Let me try to do, so for this one, oh, sorry. Oh, shoot. OK, I need to press enter there. I think it does, but I'll just try. Oh, no, if I press enter, it automatically makes it caps. So I guess the caps didn't matter, but it'll make it caps anyways. OK? All right, so does everyone have, now your number will not say 21. Your number may say something different. Does everyone have this working right now? No? OK. Yep.
So once I do this equals to A2.
A2, and then asterisk, and then click on B2.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now let's say I want to copy this down. Check this out. Look how cool this is. Look at this. I can go here, and this program is so smart that it does not just copy down my A2 times B2 and copy it all down. Google Sheets is so smart that they said, you know what, because this person multiplied this one by this one, that seems like it's a row, and we're in that row, then I'm going to just assume that if they want me to do this in the second row, that they actually want everything to reference the second row. So if you click on C2, do you see how it went, or sorry, C3, do you see how it now is doing A3 times B3? Or if I went to C13, it's actually A13 times B13. They did a little bit of that math themselves. Pretty cool, right? Super, super helpful. And now we'll make this into a coin flip. Okay? You're just going to follow along here, and we'll actually come back to this a little bit more. So we'll call this our coin flip. Okay? And we're going to do an if function. Anyone here done any JavaScript or done a little bit of, or Python? This may seem, we're going to use if-then commands, so this will seem familiar. Okay? And if it doesn't seem familiar, don't lose sleep. But I'm going to do equal sign, if. Okay? And this reads like English. if, and then I'm going to put an open parentheses. Okay? And I'm going to say if C2 is greater than, and let's think about this for a second. If I'm making a coin flip and I want 50% of mine to be a heads and 50% to be a tails, and I'm saying if C2 is greater than some number, and I want about 50% of the time to give me a heads, 50% of the time to give me a tails, what should I say C2 is greater than? What number? Yeah. So if I go greater than 0, it's always going to give, I'll try 0. Let's do this. If C2 is greater than 0, okay? So if it should ideally always be greater than 0 and less than 100, right? But let's try 0. So if C2 is greater than 0, then I'm going to put comma, and then I'm going to put in quotations, heads, and then I'm going to put comma, and I'm going to put tails. Okay? And here's what this means. It means if cell C2 is greater than 0, then say heads, or else, that's what the next comma means, say tails. Okay? I've made a coin flip. Now let's see how this works. I'm going to press enter. I close the parentheses, and actually if you forget to close the parentheses, sometimes Google's pretty nice and it'll close it for you. And I got heads there. And let's copy it down to see if this works. I should expect about half of these to say heads and about half to say tails. So I'll scroll this down, and shoot, it all says heads. And I want about 50% of those to say tails. So what do I do? Yeah, what do you think? Greater than 49? Yeah, that should be great. Or we could do greater than 50, but sure, greater than 49 will probably give us about the same thing. I actually think numerically you want to do 50, greater than 50, but you have the right idea because it's not necessarily integers. So if C2 is greater than 50, give me heads and then give me tails. All right, it looks like that worked for cell D2, but what do I need to do to make it work for the rest of my cells? Yeah, drag it down. Good. So I go to D2, and I want to drag this down all the way down here. Look at that. You made a coin flip formula. So now if you're ever need to flip a coin and you don't have a coin, then you could just tell your friends, hold on, and then you pull up your Google spreadsheet, and then you could do it on here. And your friends will say, wow, you're pretty cool for doing that. All right. So I do just want to make one quick point. Sometimes you want to drag something down, and you actually don't want Google to be smart. You want to say, hey, Google, you're trying to make an assumption I don't want you to make right now. Okay? So let's say I am going to do, I'll just kind of do this over here. I'm going to just say random, okay? And I'll put equal rand again. And I'm just going to do this for like 10 of them. And on this one, let's say I do, for some reason this says, let's say it says 100 and then it says 101, and I'm going to have it copy down until it says 110. Let's say just for some reason it says this. Okay? And let's say I want to calculate percent again. So in this case, because not all of these G cells say 100, I actually need to use the dollar sign. And I'll show you what this means. Okay? The dollar sign basically means don't make assumptions. Just copy exactly what I had. Okay? So I'll show you what I mean by this. I'm going to put equals, and I'm going to click on F2, and I'm going to say times G2, and I can just press enter. So I'll show you what I mean by where my problem is. So let's say I copy this, and I copy this down. The problem is I'm no longer turning this into a percentage, right? Because I'm actually multiplying this number by 108, and I do not want to do that. So there's a problem here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just press Command Z and go back to just where I have this. And I need to introduce the dollar sign. And the dollar sign before a letter or a number basically says, hey, don't change this, okay? You can change everything else, but you cannot change this. And I'll show you what I mean by this. And this is something that you do not have to be like, I know exactly how this works. But it's actually helpful to say, okay, something's happening, and you will be like, oh, I know that there's this dollar sign thing that I can look up how to use it. So I'm actually going to put $G$2. You see how I did that right there? F2 times $G$2. And what that basically says is, you can still look at F2, and you can make assumptions as we scroll down about that. And you can still kind of look at G, but you cannot change the number 2. No matter how much I drag this left or right or up or down, you need to keep it at 2. Okay? So looking at this, yeah, 1.8, that's correct. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this down. And what I have is, if you look at like H8, it did look down at F8. It's because I didn't put a dollar sign in front of 8. It's looking at row 8 here, okay? But it's only multiplying it by G2 because I put a dollar sign there. So it's only looking at that 100%. So that's just like the dollar sign rule. If you don't want it to drag, you're like Google, you're trying to be too smart, you're trying to see a pattern where there's not a pattern, you just put that dollar sign. And anything that comes right after that basically tells Google, keep this as it is. You can change everything else, but you got to keep this as it is. Now I could have put that dollar sign in front of the 8 as well too, but do you know what would happen if I did that?
Wait, what do you have? Yep. Like, if you want to do like times another thing, and then you want the other thing to count.
Yeah, then it should count. The dollar sign only immediately, it's only going to look at whatever immediately is after the dollar sign. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but it should work. But just for example, if I did do F$2, G$2, that would actually not give me what I want because it would drag down the 2 and for both the F and the G. So if I just try that really quickly and I drag it, it's going to give me the exact same number for everything. Because what it has done is it said, no matter where I am, I'm going to have it say F2, G2. And I don't want that. So I only wanted the dollar sign on one of them. So I can undo this. Okay? Okay, how are we feeling? Everything good? I'm going to just we're going to take about like a 10-minute break in just a second, but we're going to just show you graphs really quickly. Graphs are nice because they're pretty intuitive. And by intuitive, I mean Google just does it for you. You do not have to do any of the thinking for yourself, okay? Okay, so we are going to now go back to our data really quickly. And we're going to, our order data, okay? So I'm going to go to where I have my sample data. I'm in Vince's spreadsheet test. You should be in your name spreadsheet test. And I'm here. Hopefully everyone's looked like this. Remember, if your discount is messed up, don't lose sleep about it right now. Okay. So I have a series of tasks to do, and let's kind of work through this. So the first is add in a column between column A and column B. So can you do that? Okay. And then can you label it order number? Yeah, that can have a space. Column titles can generally have a space. It's just the tab can't have a space. Okay? And then you're going to order the numbers from 1 to 43, because that's how many orders we had. Okay? I'm going to do this too really quickly. But you're just going to label the order numbers. So I added in between A and B. I'm going to call it order number. And I'm going to put 1, 2, and then I can drag it on down. It'll go to 43. Just note, the reason this says 44 and that says 43 is because I didn't start at cell A1 because I have a header. That's something that always gets confusing with Excel. I wish there was a better way to do it, but because A1 is my thing, I actually start at A2 or B2. Okay? So really nicely, I was able to create a nice order number here. All right. So I'm going to add in another column to the left of the one that I just created. So I'm going to put it to the left of B. So I'm going to put another column to the left. And I'm going to label this year ordered. Okay. And if the item was ordered in 2018, can you put the year 2018? And if the item was ordered in 2019, can you put the year 2019? So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look at the order date. And luckily, these are pretty chronological. Okay? But you'll put 2018 if it was ordered in 2018, and 2019 if it was ordered in 2019. So I'll put up the next kind of set of directions to see how we're doing here. So I'm just going to do 2018. All the way down here. And 2019. All the way down here. Okay. Next, can you put a column to the left of column E, label it random, and then put a random number in each of the cells for column E? So I'll have you do that right now. And then there's one last thing that I'm going to show you how to do, and that's just to freeze your data. You may know how to do this. Just make it more readable. So do you notice how when I go here, my header disappears? So I'm down here and I'm like, what does this mean? Who's Sorvino? What does West mean? What does Penn mean, right? I don't know what this means. I wish that I could just see this. So there's a way to do that. You go to View and you go to Freeze. And what I want to do is I want to freeze my first row. And what that means is I'm going to be able to see everything as I scroll down. See how that worked? And let's say I want to freeze my first 3 columns. Do you get that, or do you need me to slow down? That's good? Okay. And then let's say I want to freeze my first 3 columns, because no matter where I am, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, the total is 539, but what order number was that? Oh, I'm already lost. Okay, so what I can do is I can just click on C, and I can go once again to View, Freeze, and I can actually go to Up to Current Column, which is C. Okay? And what that'll do is no matter where I am, if I scroll around, I can kind of see where I am. See how this is really nice? Okay, yeah.
Can you just freeze C?
I could, no, I cannot just freeze C. That is a good question. You have to freeze up to C. Yeah, great question. I do not think that you can just freeze C. Yeah, I don't think I would have to move C to A and then make that the first column. You're right. So that would be the only way I could do that. Okay, I'm going to come around and help people just troubleshoot, but let me just, we've just done our if-then, so we'll do this kind of quickly, but this might be a review. Okay. Next, you're going to insert a column to the right of the units column. Okay. So let's insert a column to the right of the units column. And we're going to call this worth it, question mark. And let's say I run a company and I say, if we're not selling at least 50 units, it's not worth it. We're not going to sell to them. We're just losing money at that point. And so I want a way to really quickly do this. So I'm going to make an equation. So I'm going to put under H2, I'm going to put equal sign, if. And basically, I just think about this in English first. I'm going to say, well, if the number of units is greater than 50, then you can say yes. And if it's less than 50, you can say no. Because I'm just trying to see if it's worth it. So I'm going to just say, well, if this one, which is G2, is greater than 50, then it's going to be worth it for me. So I'll put comma, and I'll say, yep, yes. You can say, yes, it's worth it. And if it's not, the second one will say, no, it's not worth it. Just for the record, if you don't tell it to say yes or no, it will still give you back returns. Do you know what it will say in return if you don't say yes or no, if you don't tell it what to say? It'll say true or false. Yeah, that's just general coding. If you give it an if command and it's not sure, it'll say true or false. Okay? So I'm going to see if this is worth it. And I made my code and I drag it on down. And I'm just going to double check. Anything under 50 is a no, and anything above 50 is a yes. Do you see how this 50 right there is a no? Let's say, oh, you know what? If they do 50, that's good. I need to change my code. Right? I want to do greater than or equal to. So what do you think I should add in here? I have greater than. What sign would I add in for equal to? Yeah, equal sign. Let's try to add that in. Let's see if it works. Okay. So I'll copy this down. And now you see that 50 is included for me because I did greater than or equal to. And if you want to see what the code looks like really quickly, I'll show you. Oh no, this didn't get bigger. Oh no, I messed this up. It's that greater than or equal to sign. Okay. So we're going to do another thing to try to visualize this. Sometimes I don't want to do yes or no. And just for the record, I used to work in a lab when I was an undergrad, probably similar to the stuff that you're going to do. I worked in a brain science lab. And I thought I would do really cool brain science stuff, and I did not. And they gave me little skulls, and then I would fill them up with marbles, and I would count how many marbles it took to fill up a skull. I did this for hours on end, and then I would put the number of marbles into this. And then I would have to say, is this enough marbles that this skull is worth working on, or if it's not worth working on. So I actually just had to do this. And instead of me figuring out, like me having to type in, is this greater than this, I just kind of could create a formula. And so you might be creating formulas like this as well too. So let's figure out what our next thing is. So the next thing I want you to try to do is, instead of having to say yes or no, have it say yep or nah. And then if you get it to say yep or nah, then try to change it to say nah if the number is under 100. So maybe I change my mind and I say, well, unless they're giving me 100 units, then I don't want to do it. Or you could make it under 75 or something. So I'll have you work on that. Do you get it to say yep or nah? If you're in a lab, don't do that. But if you now you know how to change it. It may not say yep or nah, but it may say order with them or something like that. Okay? All right, so next, we're going to do some really quick conditional formatting. Okay? What if we want to know something is exactly the same? Then we use exactly. And if we want to know if something contains the letter or phrase, we could do regex max. And if we want to know if it contains, we want to change a color to contain certain values, we do conditional formatting. So I'll show you how to do all three of these right now. So exactly is really helpful, okay? Because maybe I want to be able to make a value to say, every time, I'm keeping my eye on Jones, okay? I want to know every time Jones is doing something, is it true or false, okay? Is he there? So I actually am going to add in another column to the right of the rep. And I'm going to say, was Jones there? I'll put Jones, question mark. And I do equals exactly, or just, sorry, exact, not exactly, just exact. And I'm going to click on E2, and I'm going to say, just tell me, if it says exactly Jones, and I'll just close it. And it'll just return a very simple true or false for me. If Jones was there, then it'll say true, and if Jones wasn't there, it wasn't true. That's the exact function, okay? So here, looks like that's true. I'll drag it down, and I'm going to see every time that Jones is there, it says true, and every time it's true, other times it's false. True or false is so boring, though, right? I wanted to say something. I wanted to say every time Jones is there, if Jones was there, I'm going to go back, and I want to change this. Every time Jones is there, I want to say, good job, Jones. Okay? And if he's not there, I'll say, Jones, you're fired. So basically I did, if cell E2 has Jones exactly, if it says the word Jones exactly, then comma, you can say, good job, Jones. And the second comma is, well, if he's not there, then Jones, you're fired. I've just made a boss. We're getting into some kind of somewhat complicated things, but you're starting to see how spreadsheets can be kind of fun. You can kind of mess around with them. Let's see if this one works. Oh, I got an NA. Oh, no, what happened? Oh, yeah, I do. Does exact not present me with, so I have to add an if for that. Interesting. So it returns to me if it's string 1 or string 2. So I would actually have to do if exact Jones. Oh, this is actually, I don't want you to get too deep into this, but the way you would actually do this is I would actually make a if exact Jones, close that, then I would do this. So it actually would say, if this returns true or false, then give me Jones, you're fired, or Jones, good jobs. So I've actually put a formula into a formula. It's actually starting to look a little bit more like our Battleships thing. I don't know if you could read this, but it says if, in parentheses, exact E2, so that's cell E2. If that says Jones, I think I actually need to put a comma. Let's see if this works. Yeah, that did work. Then say, if this is true, then say, good job, Jones. And if it's false, say, Jones, you're fired. So we actually now have put a formula into a formula. You're full on coding now, right? There's a lot that can go wrong here. I don't want you to get too bogged down. Did anyone get it working? It's functioning? OK, you have a Jones, you're fired, and good job, Jones. If you don't, I don't want you to get too bogged down by this, because this is a relatively complicated formula. OK? All right. I want to show you one more thing. And we're going to call this reg max. And this is just to say, if there's a certain string that exists anywhere in a series, I want you to return back true or false. So let's say I want to look at the region one. So I'm just going to add in something to the right of region. Okay? And I'm going to call this west or east. Maybe I'll say, you know what, I don't care about the central area. I just want to know, is this associated with the west or the east? Okay? And I'm going to do a formula. And this is actually the formula I had to look up last night because I couldn't remember. Reg x max. That's what it's called. I've never used this before. I mean, I'm not familiar with this code. I feel like it used to be called something different. But I'm going to put equal sign reg x max. Sorry, or match, I guess. Oh, I have to fix that. Match. Luckily, Google fills it in for me. So I have like reg x max, and I'm going to say D2, and I'm going to say if D2 contains the letters ST, because that's what east and west have in common. So if it just has ST next to each other, that's something that central doesn't have next to each other. So that's going to just be a quick shortcut I do. Then it's just going to return true or false for me. Okay? So reg x match. So if it's from east or west, it should tell me if it's true or false. And I could do all kinds of things with those. And did it work for you? Thumbs up? Yeah? OK, so we're doing pretty good. I'm going to show you one more conditional formatting thing, and then I'll get you set up. Actually, after the conditional formatting, we'll take a break, and then I'll show you the graphs. OK? So for this one, let's say I wanted to color everything red under the Units tab that is less than 50. So we haven't gotten colors yet. And that would be really, really tedious to go through here where it says unit and to actually have to like color it in for every single one. Beautifully, we have something called conditional formatting. So is everyone with me here? And if you're on something else, don't get too bogged down. You could just exit out and just stay here with I. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on where it says I, and that will highlight the whole column for me. Okay? And then I'm going to go to Format. And I will go to Conditional Formatting. All right. And the way that this works is it's going to say, I'm going to do something if you tell me to do it. So I'm going to say, format the cells if the cell is, let's say I actually want it to be, if it's less than 50, then make it red. Remember, red's a bad color. If the cell is less than 50, so I can say format cells if it's less than 50, make it red. And I see how I changed the color to red there. They have the very typical red, yellow, green. Everyone got that? Yep. So let me, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to try to say if it's between 0 or 50 and 75, let's color it something different. Just one second. So let's say I want to add in another rule. I just want to make a really nice visual to say, OK, I don't care if they're less than this. And I kind of care if it's between 50 and 75. So I'm actually going to put another rule. So I'm going to press Done. And I'm going to click on Add Another Rule. And I'm going to put is between. Okay? If it's between 50 and 75, let's make it yellow. Because yellow means I kind of care about it. See how, is that working for you? Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. So now if you're the boss, you're going to be able to just say, instead of having to read all these numbers, you could say, wherever it's yellow, I'm going to go pursue them. But let's say anything above 75, that's my top priority, because they're really going to make me a lot of money. So I'm going to press Done. And then I'm going to go add another rule. And my last thing is, if it's greater than, and then I will say 75, then make it green. See how we have this nice little thing here? Pretty cool. Look at you all. You're all Excel masters. You're excelling at Excel. And on that pun, I will leave us. So let's take a 8-minute break, and let's be back at 11, OK? And then we'll do our graphing at 11, OK? Are you excited? I'm excited. Graphing's cool. OK? Just really quickly, in Excel, there's also different formulas to try to figure things out. I'll go over this really, really quickly. But it's basically kind of the same way that all these other formulas work out. So I have this really kind of sloppy data at this point. But I can, let's say I want to just kind of average things or kind of do things. So let's say I have, I want to figure out the average of my totals. OK? So I can add in a column to the right of my total column. OK? And I'll call this my average. And so let's say I want to calculate the average. That's the mean, right? That's the mathematical concept for it. So I'll put equals mean. Oh, wait. Mean doesn't show up. So you're getting actually, one thing you're kind of getting informed about here is that Excel has formulas that it wants you to do. And if it isn't on there, it's not going to do it. You and I know what mean means, but Excel doesn't. So I'm actually going to say, well, mean didn't work, so let me try an average. And it looks like average worked. I'm going to make sure I clicked on average and not average deviation, which is avdev. So I'm going to click on average. OK. And the way the average works is it is an average of a series of numbers. So I can click on average, and then I can click on L2. And then be very careful about this. I'm going to make sure I don't click again, but I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of this data series. Then I'm going to press Shift, and I'm going to press average, or I'm going to click on the bottom part of that, and then I'm going to close my parentheses. And at the top, I have the average for all this. Looks like the average number for all my totals was 456.46. You should have exactly that number, because that's not randomized. Does that work for you? Okay. Let's say I want to do the median. I'll add in another column. One more time, median. I want to find the median value. I'm going to do equal sign median. Same thing. Okay. Oh, 299. So it looks like there's some outliers that are pushing my average up. All right. I'll do another one for standard deviation. Okay. And you could just probably guess that that's, well, you may not be able to guess, but it's just STDEV. And I want to do that with the sequence. Okay. And my standard deviation is, I guess, 447. Don't ask me what standard deviation means. I could tell you, but that's another class. Okay? So basically what we're doing is we're just taking all these kind of formulas. And if you ever need a math formula and you're not sure what it is, you just look it up. Pretty simple. Okay. So there's another, actually we won't do, the other one I'll do really quickly is count and count if. Now these are pretty simple formulas. So let's say I'm going back to my sample data. Oh, where am I? Okay. So the first one is count, which is actually just quite simple. It's just saying count the total number of responses that there are for this. Okay. So I'm going to go to A, and I'm going to make something right to the right of that. We're making this a very ugly spreadsheet right now, so don't worry too much. And I'm just going to say, call this how many entries. Okay. And we're going to do something pretty cool here. I'm going to just say count the total number of entries for anything that is in A. And all this does is it basically counts, if I have anything there, then count it. If I don't, then don't count it. So I'm going to put equals count, open parentheses, and I'm going to press this, and then I'm going to do something pretty cool. I could do all of A2. I could do all of column A, but I don't want to scroll down. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll get 1,000 responses. I don't want to kind of work with that. So I'm just going to do A2 and then colon. And then I'm going to close my parentheses. And basically that says A2 and then anything below it, count it. Let's see if that works. No, that was an error. I think I did something wrong. I'm going to do a space. No, it doesn't like that either. Why isn't it letting me do this? Let me try this. Count. Let me just try. Ugh, I don't know why this is not working. I would have thought that that works. I may have to just do this manually, which is unfortunate. So I can do A2. Yeah, do you know? It's colon A. So I would just do count A2 to colon A or just colon A? Yeah, so I would do A2, thank you. Colon and just A. And that basically says count everything that is in column A. So thank you for that. That reads like this. That basically says everything in A. That may be something that is different than Excel, or maybe I'm just remembering it incorrectly. And then I close that. And it's basically going to count. Oh, why did it do that? I don't like that it did that. That's counting like, I have no idea what that's counting. That's like counting everything. I don't like this. This is kind of not, yeah, what?
I think you have to, when you make a new column, make it from the row to the right. Because if you do it from the one to the left, it'll be a date.
Oh, it's assuming that this is a date. Ah, interesting. So basically what is happening is it's assuming that column B is a date because I made an extra one from A. This is where Google can make assumptions and it can make you super messy. Oh, that's really interesting. So that's turning something into binary that doesn't need to be binary. OK, so let's try this really quickly. Thank you for figuring this out. Yeah. So I would guess 211 is probably equal to about 43, which is, or 42, which is actually our number of counts. So because that's the 42nd day of the year after the millennium. Wow, that's really interesting. OK, so let's do. I really wasn't assuming that it would go there. Let's try to create one to the left on year ordered. OK, hopefully this works. I'm going to once again do how many entries. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to delete all of column B. That column's a nightmare. I don't like that column. So I'm going to right-click on column B, and I'll just press delete column, which is right here. I don't like that one. So hopefully it looks like this. And then I'm going to do equals. Let's just count how many entries are in year ordered. I want to get away from that thing. So I'm going to just do count. OK? And I'm going to do the number of entries here, C2 to C. And that should hopefully give me 42 or 43. OK, thank goodness that worked. And that's the number of entries I have. And the beauty of this is, if I add in another entry, that number will change. So let's say I add in another entry. Let's say I'm planning ahead, and I'm going to make a sale for 2020. And I make another one for 2020, or another one for 2020. Beautiful. It's 46 now. So that number kind of keeps my count going. These are just basic functions. You never know when you're going to need them, but you may be in a lab where just you need to count something. And then I'm going to do one more thing, and then we're going to go to graphing. I'm going to make something next to G. So I'm going to make a column to the right of G. And I just want to count how many times Jones made a sale. Because Jones is on my watch list. OK, I want to see if Jones is doing this. So Jones sales. And I'm going to do count if for this. And count if basically says count how many times this name shows up. So I'll do equal count if. And I'm going to count if it says Jones. Very simple. OK. Oh, count if, sorry, I want to do G2 to G says Jones. This is all just basically saying count if this whole series says Jones. Got it? All right, so it looks like Jones shows up 8 times. Is that what you got as well? I'll give you a sec just to get caught up there. My formula, in case you can't read it, is count if this time. So that's only if. You're only going to count if the name Jones shows up. So that would be G2 to G Jones. Sorry, that should be a lowercase n. OK, we are going to start to graph now. OK, so what I'm going to actually recommend you do for this is I'm going to recommend that you make a new copy of the data. Because you know how we just made it really, really sloppy? We're going to try to make a new copy of the data. Or alternatively, you can actually restore an older version of your data. So you could just make a new tab and kind of copy in your data separately, or you can make a new version of the data. So I'll show you how to do both. What I could do is I could go to File, Version History, and I could actually kind of go to where I originally put in my data. Now that's going to take a little bit of a long time, but you just have this ability. See, this is actually loading so much for me. But I can see all the different edits that I've made on this. Your teachers probably do this when they give you a group assignment and you turn it on Google Docs. They see who edited what. But I can just kind of go back here, and I could try to go back to my original thing here when I originally put in my sample data, which was at around 912. But I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just showing you that that exists. I'm actually just going to make a new tab. And I'm going to call this tab Scatterplot. And guess what? I'm going to put a Scatterplot in here. So what I will do is I will actually go back to this Bioforce sample data. Okay. And I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to put it here. And it looks like I'm not really worried about copying special because I just need the numbers right now. So I just have a new thing with my data fresh. Luckily, I didn't manipulate my original data source because look how messy our sample data thing is. It's super, super messy. I added in all these crazy things. So I could just kind of start fresh here. And we're going to make a really basic scatter plot right now. In my scatter plot, I want to look at the units versus the total number of units sold. Okay? I actually want to look at the units versus the total value of that sale. So in general, I would probably expect if I have more units, the total sale is going to be worth more. Okay? So this is just a really basic graph where I'm going to do unit versus unit sale. I can also do unit versus unit cost if I want to. Maybe that'll be more interesting. But either way, it's pretty easy. I'm going to highlight E, and I'm going to highlight F. Those of you who are having trouble copying and pasting over, my recommendation, just for the record, is if you go back to the sample data, you are actually welcome just to copy over E and F. And it seems to be doing easier if you just copy one column at a time. So you could actually just copy those over. Okay? But I have E and F there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press Insert Chart. And really beautifully, what this does is I have created a nice little scatter plot. And this scatter plot, Google automatically figured out that I want my units to be my x-axis and my unit cost to be this. And this seems actually pretty reasonable. If something costs a lot, people probably won't order a lot of it. But it seems like everything else is kind of people are ordering normal amounts of it. But let's say I don't like this orientation. Let's say I want my orientation to be unit cost to be here and the total number of units purchased to be there. Well, I can change that. Okay? I can make my x-axis. I'm going to click here. I'm going to go to, actually, first off, what I will do is I'm going to drag this over, this graph, get this out of the way. So let's say I want to make my x-axis the unit cost. So I'm going to go to Edit. And then I'm going to select a data range. And my data range I'm going to select is actually, sorry, doesn't want me to do that. Why don't you want me to do that? Yep. So I'm going to do F. So that's my x-axis. I'll press OK. And see how it's linear because it's actually unit cost versus unit cost. And let's say I want my y-axis now to be units. So I change what is called series. And I'm going to go to Edit. And I want to make my y-axis my units. So I've actually changed this. Okay? So the number of units. Yes, this is correct, but they're just incorrectly labeled. So this would be unit cost. This didn't automatically update, and this would be units. Okay? So you see, if it's really expensive, I don't have a lot of units sold. If it's medium expensive, it's not a lot. But in this range, it seems like the cheaper things I'm selling a lot of. Okay? Well, this is just really quickly how to make a scatter plot. And normally it actually just kind of does this for you. Scatter plots are actually the most confusing type of plot that we will make because you often have to put in your own series for that. You have to put in your own X or Y. The other types I will teach you, a pie chart and a histogram, those will work automatically for you because there's only one series to look at. So before I start troubleshooting, I'll just show you these next two ones, and then we will kind of get started. Okay? And then we're going to kind of jump to our challenge. So I'm going to exit out of chart editor. Let me show you the next two, and then I'll troubleshoot it, because this is actually the most kind of complicated one. So I'm going to exit out of chart editor. I'm going to click on this, and I'll just press delete. I want to get rid of that graph. And let's say I want to make next a bar graph. Okay? So the way I would make a bar graph, let's say I want to know a bar graph of who is selling the most goods. So this is I'm going to look at my reps, my salesperson. I'm just going to click on column C, and then I'm going to go to Insert Chart, and I want it to be let's say I can do where's my histogram? Histogram chart, okay? Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Why is it doing this? Let me go to the more simple one. I don't know why that's doing that. I can just do my pie chart. Let's just do pie chart first, because it looks like that data. Something's weird with that data. But looking at this pie chart, it's showing me who's making the most sales. Who's making the most sales? Jones. I was on Jones's case, but Jones is actually my best salesperson. All right, so that's how you make a pie chart. And then let's actually make a histogram next. Okay? So I will exit out, and I'll delete this pie chart. And now I'm going to make a histogram. Maybe it's because I highlighted the name of it. Let me try this. I'll try B. This was working for me last night. So I just highlighted B. I'm going to try to make a histogram of the regions. Basically, histogram is just kind of showing me how often a certain name shows up. We're going to insert chart. And it's automatically going to go to a pie chart for me. But let me try to do a histogram. Beautiful. This gives me a histogram. So I would go to chart type, and I would click there. Are you able to get that working? I don't know what was up with my other one. So it looks like I'm selling a lot more in the central region, more than the east and west. Okay? So those are the three basic graphs I will teach you. But you'll actually have some time in this next phase to kind of experiment with some. So here's what we're going to do. For the next half hour, you have a series of challenges, and I will be circulating around now. But a series of challenges on a new spreadsheet. Okay? So on this new spreadsheet, here's what I'm going to have you do. You're going to go to tinyurl.com/spreadsheet challenge. Okay? And then you're going to make a copy of that. Okay. You'll go to File, make a copy. And you can name it your name and then Spreadsheet Challenge. So I could just put fences lesson 2, Spreadsheet Introduction. Okay. Then you are going to share that with me. And then you're going to work through the different tabs. Every tab has a different challenge for you. Okay? This first tab is just saying, wherever there's some instructions. The first tab, what I want you to do is to sort the data from smallest to largest. So what you'll have to do is you're going to want to copy this over. I'm just going to get you set up on this. Oh, I didn't teach you sort yet. I'll teach you sort really quickly. Okay? So I highlighted all this data. I'm going to paste this here. Okay? Then I'm going to click on B. Sorry, sort was the one thing I forgot to teach you. So then I have all the data pasted there. I go to Data, Sort Range, and I'm going to say the data has a header row because I don't want to sort that thing that says sort data from smallest to largest. And I'm going to sort it from A to Z, which also goes from the lowest number to the highest number. And I press sort. And did it sort? And then the next thing I'm going to have you do is work on the average, the median, the mode, the standard deviation. How many responses were there? So you're going to do a count. And then the number of people that it scored exactly, was that 6 inches? So that would be count if. Okay? So I'll have you start to work on that, and I'm going to circulate around. If you do finish, you're welcome to do the extension challenge or the extension challenge here to convert all the data, copy and paste it, and then convert it. So you have to do an equation. And then when you're done with that, I'll have you start to work on the other spreadsheet, on the other tabs of the spreadsheet. Every tab has a different challenge. Okay? So start to work on that, and I'm going to start circulating around. But this is the place to go.